Event report: President Trump directs Elon Musk to overhaul federal agencies via DOGE. Date: February 9, 2025. Overview. In a bold and controversial move, President Donald Trump announced on February 9, 2025 that he had mandated Elon Musk to hire 45 new agents for the newly established Department of Government Efficiency DOGE. These agents, chosen at Musk's discretion, are tasked with overseeing and auditing key federal agencies including the FBI, CIA, and Pentagon. This decision marks a significant shift in the federal government's operational structure and raises numerous questions about governance oversight and potential conflicts of interest. Background. Following his inauguration, President Trump indicated a desire to streamline federal operations and cut perceived waste within the government. Musk, known for his disruptive business practices and innovative approaches, was seen as a fitting ally in this endeavor. The creation of DOGE aligns with Trump's broader agenda to reduce the size and scope of federal agencies, a campaign promise he reiterated during his 2024 campaign. Key developments. 1. Musk's rapid integration into government. Musk's team swiftly infiltrated at least 17 federal agencies within weeks of the announcement. They began analyzing budgets, operations, and staffing levels, focusing on identifying inefficiencies and cost-saving opportunities. This aggressive approach has drawn both praise and criticism. 2. Scope of authority and concerns. Musk's agents were granted extensive access to sensitive data and operations within various agencies. Critics raised concerns about potential conflicts of interest, particularly given Musk's extensive business dealings with the Pentagon and other government entities. The Defense Department reportedly has billions in contracts with Musk's companies, raising questions about impartiality in audits. 3. Controversial actions and backlash. The DOGE initiative has faced significant backlash from federal employee unions and Democratic lawmakers. Numerous lawsuits have been filed challenging Musk's authority and the legality of his actions. For instance, a federal judge temporarily blocked a buyout plan affecting over 2 million federal workers, citing violations of labor agreements. 4. Public support and political ramifications. Despite the controversies, President Trump has steadfastly supported Musk's efforts, praising the identification of fraud and inefficiency within federal agencies. During a press conference, Trump expressed pride in the work of Musk's team, consisting primarily of young aides. He dismissed concerns regarding their qualifications and experience, asserting that their fresh perspectives are valuable. 5. Specific agency actions. On February 2, Musk announced plans to shut down the U.S. Agency for International Development (USAID). A move that left many aid workers and organizations in confusion regarding their operations. DOGE agents gained access to the Department of Education and the Treasury Department, leading to concerns about the handling of sensitive data and the potential dismantling of critical programs. The actions of DOGE have included shutting down diversity, equity, and inclusion (DEI) programs, aligning with Trump's broader agenda to eliminate such policies from federal operations. Timeline of events. January 8, 2025, the Trump administration initiates buyout offers to federal workers. February 2, 2025, Musk announces the shutdown of USAID. February 5, 2025, a federal judge blocks the buyout plan and limits DOGE's access to Treasury data. February 6, 2025, Marco Velez, a DOGE member, resigns amid controversy over racist social media posts. February 7, 2025, Trump confirms Musk's investigations into various agencies, including the Pentagon and Education Department. Public and legal opposition. The establishment of DOGE has spurred widespread protests from Democratic lawmakers and federal employee unions. Attempts to block Musk's initiatives have included legal challenges that have temporarily restrained certain DOGE actions. For instance, a judge recently granted a restraining order preventing DOGE from accessing taxpayer records, highlighting the growing tensions between the administration and federal workers. Conclusion and implications. The unfolding situation surrounding Musk's Department of Government Efficiency reflects a complex interplay of political strategy, legal challenges, and public scrutiny. As the Trump administration continues to pursue its aggressive agenda to reshape federal operations, the implications of these actions for governance, civil service protections, and the balance of power within the federal government remain uncertain. The coming weeks will likely see continued legal battles and political maneuvering as both supporters and opponents of DOGE navigate this unprecedented restructuring of federal oversight. The content you provided focuses on a controversial directive from President Trump to Elon Musk, tasking him with hiring agents for the newly formed Department of Government Efficiency DOGE to audit federal agencies including the FBI, CIA, and Pentagon. Notably, this situation involves several counterintuitive aspects. 1. Inexperienced agents in high-stakes roles. Despite the critical nature of the agencies, Musk's team is set to oversee. Many of the 45 agents hired are described as inexperienced young aides. This raises questions about the effectiveness of such a team in managing and auditing complex federal operations. 2. Conflicts of interest. Musk has significant business ties with the Department of Defense, raising concerns that his oversight could be biased or self-serving. Trump's administration seems unconcerned about these conflicts, which is counter to typical governance practices that prioritize avoiding conflicts of interest in oversight roles. 3. Legal challenges and political backlash. While Musk's team has been given broad authority, there is notable public and legal opposition to their actions. This includes lawsuits from federal unions and lawmakers attempting to block DOGE's initiatives. The resistance highlights a dissonance between the Trump administration's ambitions to restructure federal agencies and the established legal frameworks designed to protect civil service roles and operational integrity. For public support versus opposition, Trump's vocal support for Musk's initiatives contrasts sharply with the widespread criticism from various stakeholders, including unions and Democratic lawmakers. This division illustrates a counterintuitive political landscape where a significant portion of the government and public is actively resisting the president's directives. 5. Aggressive budget-cutting strategy. Musk's aggressive approach to dismantling federal programs, including diversity initiatives, is being implemented without clear accountability or transparency. This contrasts with conventional governance, where such significant changes typically involve extensive review and public discourse. 6. Short-term focus on efficiency versus long-term consequences. The rush to identify waste and fraud may lead to hasty decisions that overlook the potential long-term consequences for critical agencies and the services they provide. This focus on immediate efficiency gains may inadvertently undermine the operational capacity of these agencies, which is counter to the usual goal of enhancing government effectiveness. 7. Public perception of corruption. Trump's assertion that Musk's team is uncovering fraud and waste within government operations creates a narrative that the federal government is largely inefficient or corrupt. This perception can be counterintuitive given that many of the agencies have long-standing reputations and structures designed to prevent such inefficiencies. 8. Political capital and its limitations. The Trump administration's willingness to leverage Musk's popularity and business acumen suggests a strategic political maneuver to gain support for controversial policies. However, this also risks alienating moderate supporters who may view the situation as a chaotic or reckless approach to government efficiency. 9. Reactions to the media. The administration's aggressive stance against media scrutiny, particularly concerning Musk's controversial actions and their implications, highlights a counterintuitive relationship where the administration seeks to control narratives while facing legal and public challenges. This approach may backfire by further galvanizing opposition. These counterintuitive elements reflect the complexities and tensions inherent in the intersection of business, politics, and governance as the Trump administration seeks to reshape federal operations through unconventional means. The report on President Trump's directive to Elon Musk regarding the establishment of the Department of Government Efficiency DOGE and the hiring of 45 agents to audit key federal agencies contains several critical components that many might overlook. Here are important aspects that warrant attention along with their significance. 1. Youth and inexperience of DOGE agents. The agents hired under Musk are described as largely inexperienced young aides. This is significant because it raises concerns about their qualifications to manage and audit complex federal agencies like the FBI, CIA, and Pentagon. The inexperience could lead to oversight failures or mismanagement impacting national security and operational efficiency. The reliance on youth also suggests a potential ideological alignment with a specific vision of government efficiency that may not account for the nuanced demands of federal operations. 2. Extent of authority granted. Musk's team has been granted extensive access across various federal agencies, including critical national security entities. This is alarming as it poses significant risks of conflicts of interest, particularly given Musk's business ties with the Defense Department. The ability of DOGE to access sensitive information and data systems could result in misuse or exploitation of that information, impacting privacy and security. 3. Legal challenges and public opposition. There have been substantial legal challenges against DOGE's initiatives, with several lawsuits filed by federal worker unions and Democratic lawmakers. The significance of this opposition lies in the potential for a constitutional showdown regarding the scope of executive power and the checks and balances inherent in the federal government. If DOGE's actions are deemed unlawful, it could set a precedent for future executive overreach and weaken the integrity of federal employee protections. 4. Impact on diversity and inclusion policies. The intention of DOGE to end diversity, equity, and inclusion (DEI) programs reflects a broader ideological shift within the federal government. This move could undermine efforts to promote a diverse workforce and equitable treatment within federal agencies. The significance of this change highlights the potential for systemic discrimination and a rollback of progress made in civil rights, which can have lasting implications on government representation and public trust. 5. Financial implications and budget cuts. The aggressive cost-cutting measures proposed by Musk's team, including the targeting of agencies for audits and potential layoffs, have significant implications for federal operations. The assertion that billions could be saved raises questions about the prioritization of fiscal responsibility over effective governance. Misguided budget cuts may result in reduced capabilities for agencies tasked with critical functions such as national security, public health, and education. 6. Transparency and accountability issues. The lack of transparency surrounding DOGE's operations and decision-making processes is noteworthy. The report indicates that there is little public insight into Musk's activities within the government, which raises concerns about accountability. A government operating without sufficient oversight risks becoming insular and unresponsive to the needs of its citizens. 7. Political polarization and partisan dynamics. The support from Trump and the Republican establishment for Musk's initiatives reflects a deepening of political polarization in the U.S. The dismissive attitude towards the qualifications of DOGE agents and the aggressive dismantling of established agencies can be viewed as part of a larger strategy to consolidate power and reshape the federal landscape. This dynamic could further exacerbate partisan divides and hinder bipartisan cooperation on critical issues. 8. Future implications for governance. The establishment of DOGE under Musk's guidance could set a precedent for future administrations. If this model of governance, characterized by privatization and the infusion of private sector philosophies into public service, becomes normalized, it could permanently alter the relationship between government and its workforce. This shift could lead to a less stable and more fragmented federal system, raising questions about the long-term viability of democratic institutions. In conclusion, while the immediate actions of President Trump and Elon Musk's DOGE may appear as bold attempts to streamline government operations, the underlying implications of these moves are profound. The focus on inexperienced conflicts of interest, legal challenges, and the potential erosion of diversity and inclusion policies should not be overlooked, as they represent significant threats to the integrity and functionality of federal governance. Understanding these overlooked aspects is crucial for citizens, lawmakers, and advocates who aim to ensure a balanced and accountable government. 1. Scope of authority and potential conflicts of interest. The assignment of expansive power to Elon Musk and his newly formed Department of Government Efficiency DOGE raises significant concerns. Musk's access to key federal agencies, including the Pentagon, poses a direct conflict of interest given his substantial business dealings with the Defense Department. The implications of allowing a private sector entrepreneur with vested interests in government contracts to audit and potentially dismantle vital government functions include risks of bias and inefficiency. This point invites a deeper examination of the ethical boundaries between public service and private enterprise, especially in functions as critical as national defense and security. 2. Political backing and agenda-driven actions. President Trump's robust support for Musk's initiatives highlights a broader political strategy aimed at reshaping federal operations to align with his administration's agenda. Musk's team has been tasked with dismantling diversity policies and scrutinizing federal budgets to identify waste. This approach raises critical questions about the motivations behind such actions, whether they are genuinely aimed at improving efficiency or if they serve to advance a specific political ideology. A discussion on the balance between efficiency and political maneuvering in governance could illuminate the potential consequences of such agenda-driven actions on federal workforce morale and public trust. 3. Legal and public opposition. The backlash against DOGE has been significant, with various federal worker unions and Democratic lawmakers challenging its actions in court. Legal interventions that have temporarily halted initiatives such as employee buyouts and agency audits underscore the tension between political authority and legal frameworks designed to protect civil service rights. This aspect could lead to a discussion on the role of judicial oversight in moderating executive power, particularly when it intersects with the rights and protections of federal employees. An analysis of how these legal challenges could shape future governance and the accountability of federal agencies is crucial. 4. Impact on federal operations and workforce. The rapid implementation of DOGE's initiatives, including the potential shutdown of agencies like USAID and significant alterations to the federal workforce, poses risks to essential services and humanitarian efforts. The implications of such drastic changes could have far-reaching effects on both domestic and international fronts, particularly in areas of disaster relief and foreign aid. An in-depth analysis of how these operational shifts impact the efficiency and effectiveness of federal agencies, along with the potential consequences for public services, is vital. This point could lead to discussions about the fundamental responsibilities of government and how changes in administration philosophy can alter those responsibilities. 1. The Reconstruction Era and the Freedmen's Bureau 1865 to 1872. After the Civil War, the U.S. government established the Freedmen's Bureau to assist formerly enslaved individuals in their transition to freedom. The Bureau was tasked with overseeing labor contracts, providing education, and managing social services. However, it faced significant opposition from southern states and was often criticized for its inefficiencies and perceived overreach. This situation mirrored the challenges faced by the proposed Department of Government Efficiency, where a new entity is tasked with overhauling existing institutions amidst political and public scrutiny, raising questions about its qualifications and methods. 2. The Teapot Dome Scandal 1920s. This significant political scandal during President Warren G. Harding's administration involved the secret leasing of federal oil reserves at Teapot Dome, Wyoming to private companies without competitive bidding. The scandal highlighted issues of corruption and mismanagement within the federal government. Similarly, the establishment of a new oversight department under Elon Musk raises concerns about potential conflicts of interest, especially given Musk's business ties to the Defense Department, reminiscent of how private interests can infiltrate and influence government operations. 3. The Watergate Scandal 1972 to 1974. Watergate involved a break-in at the Democratic National Committee headquarters and subsequent cover-up efforts by the Nixon administration. The scandal led to widespread public distrust in government and highlighted issues of accountability and oversight. The current events surrounding Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency. With its aggressive approach to auditing federal agencies and the political backing it receives parallel the environment of scrutiny and controversy that characterized Watergate, particularly regarding the balance of power and transparency in government operations. The future outlook regarding President Trump's directive to Elon Musk to manage the Department of Government Efficiency DOGE raises several predictions about the trajectory of U.S. governance, political dynamics, and federal agency operations over the next few years. Here are some key predictions based on current trends and developments. 1. Increased federal agency scrutiny and restructuring. With Musk's inexperienced team embedded in various federal agencies, it is likely that there will be a continued push towards scrutinizing operational efficiency and budget allocations. This could lead to significant restructuring of agencies deemed inefficient, potentially eliminating or consolidating departments, especially those aligned with diversity and inclusion initiatives. The next few years may witness a wave of agency closures or repurposing, including controversial moves like the proposed dismantling of USAID. 2. Legal and political challenges. As DOGE continues its aggressive agenda, it is expected that it will face increasing legal challenges from federal unions, civil rights groups, and Democratic lawmakers. Courts may become battlegrounds over the legality of Musk's actions, especially in relation to employee rights and the scope of executive power. The outcomes of these legal disputes could set significant precedents regarding executive authority over federal employment and agency operations. 3. Public backlash and protests. The controversial actions taken by DOGE, including the targeting of diversity programs and the perceived lack of qualifications of its agents, may result in widespread public protests and backlash. Advocacy groups could mobilize to push back against policies viewed as discriminatory or harmful, especially if they threaten essential services or support systems for vulnerable populations. This public response could influence future elections and shape the political landscape. 4. Shift in federal employment dynamics. As DOGE pursues aggressive buyouts and personnel purges, the federal workforce may see an unprecedented shakeup. This could lead to a talent drain as experienced professionals leave or are forced out, potentially undermining the effectiveness of federal agencies. In the long term, this might create a workforce that is less experienced and possibly less effective in carrying out government functions. 5. Potential for federal overreach and conflict of interest issues. Musk's close ties to the Defense Department and his business interests in federal contracts raise significant concerns about conflicts of interest. The ongoing scrutiny of these relationships could lead to accusations of federal overreach and cronyism, which could further fuel political polarization and calls for reforms to limit the influence of private interests in government operations. 6. Long-term impact on federal policy and governance. If DOGE's initiatives are successful, we may see a long-term shift in federal policy that emphasizes privatization, reduction of government programs, and a focus on efficiency over inclusivity. This could reshape the expectations of government services, leading to a more market-driven approach to areas traditionally managed by the government. 7. Increased partisan divisions. The ongoing conflict between DOGE's initiatives and opposition from Democratic lawmakers and unions will likely exacerbate partisan divisions in Congress. This could result in gridlock on key legislation as both sides become entrenched in their positions, making compromise increasingly difficult. 8. Impacts on national security and foreign relations. The dismantling of agencies like USAID and the tightening of operational protocols within the Pentagon could have far-reaching implications for U.S. national security and international relations. Reduced funding for humanitarian aid and foreign assistance might lead to increased instability in regions reliant on U.S. support, affecting global perceptions of U.S. leadership. 9. Future of government technology integration. as Musk's influence grows, there may be an accelerated push towards integrating technology in government operations, potentially leading to innovations in how services are delivered. However, this could also result in ethical concerns regarding surveillance, data privacy, and the extent to which technology companies influence public policy. 10. Potential economic repercussions. The aggressive cuts to federal agencies and programs may have economic ramifications, particularly if essential services are reduced or eliminated. This could impact employment rates and economic stability, especially in sectors reliant on government funding. In summary, the future outlook surrounding President Trump's directive to Elon Musk is marked by uncertainty and potential upheaval within the federal government. The interplay of legal, political, and social factors will shape the effectiveness of DOGE's initiatives and the broader implications for U.S. governance. As these developments unfold, stakeholders across the political spectrum will continue to grapple with the ramifications of these changes on democracy, governance, and the social contract between the government and its citizens.